What is the oddest thing you've done to strangers on the road? I tried to play rock paper scissors with a random stranger beside me at a stoplight. She thought I was making the jacking off motion. You have to put your open palm underneath it while doing that. I keep 2 CDs in my car, Scottish Pipes and Drums and Polka's 24 all-time greatest hits. When I'm driving down the road and pull up next to some butthole just blasting music out his windows, I slowly roll down my window, gently put in one of the CDs, delicately turn my player on and lovingly crank the volume as high as it'll go. Nothing drowns out bagpipes. Joke's on you, I like bagpipes. My ex-boyfriend, who is Canadian, has a small Canadian flag that he waves at passers-by on the highway when he crosses into the USA if he notices the car has a Canadian license plate. When he crosses into the USA, if he's waiting in line at the border, I imagine he never stops waving. I have a friend who fondles the fuzzy dice hanging from his rearview mirror as he makes eye contact with people at intersections. I have a very expressive face, large eyes, big friendly smile. I've discovered that, when I dial that up to 11, it looks a little disturbing. So, when driving, if there's somebody who draws my eye or I make that face, slowly turn my head toward them and lock eyes. I have caused people to pull to the side of the road. I used to drive around with a full-size Chucky, good guy, doll in my car. After late nights at work, I would position perfectly to be looking out the window without me touching him. If I found myself at a stoplight, I would stealthily grasp his arm so I could wave at adjacent cars, while pretending I am unaware of the situation. I quit doing this after I almost causing a few accidents. Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend till the end. Heidi ho, ha ha ha. I was driving to my clinical placements for uni during peak hour. There was this bloke Camry that continued to drive in and out of lanes, proceeded to cut me off and was just being a jerk. He didn't get far and we ended up pulling up next to each other at a set of lights. I had a banana in my bag for lunch and grabbed it out. I began to peel it slowly, all whilst staring the driver in the Camry. He looked over and we made eye contact. I just kept peeling the banana slowly and he quickly looked away. I kept eating the banana slowly, still staring at him. He kept glancing over and then looking away quickly, but I know he saw me. This is by far the best thing in this thread. Just watching, impassively, expectantly, like a dead grandmother, while enjoying a delicious healthy snack. I was cut off at a stoplight, in an unnecessarily dangerous way, by a douchebag with his girlfriend. I was going to let it go until the douchebag tells me to back up among other things. I had been having a crappy day, so this happened. I got out of my car and spiked a semi-frozen bottle of water at the douchebag's door. Much to his surprise, him at such a point of anger, the only thing I can manage to say is, "Get the frick out of that car so I can bite your fricking face." At this point the douchebag backs up and drives half on the sidewalk to get away from me. They were not smiling, laughing or calling anyone F, and the douchebag sure as frick did not get out of the car. In retrospect, I don't know where that line came from, but I was fairly proud of my performance. Also, a fairly large 6 feet 6 inches guy getting out of his car demanding to eat your face is enough to trim the tiny nutsack of a douchebag. Wow, holy crap, this is my highest grossing contribution. Yes, my reaction wasn't the smartest thing to do, but frick me, it was satisfying. A car in front of me had a Slytherin bumper sticker. The driver had no idea what the frick she was doing, and was probably texting, braked randomly, was swervy, made me miss a left turn signal, etc. I noticed her windows were open, so as I passed her I rolled mine down and screamed, "You drive like a Hufflepuff." Mega proud of that one. Not usually alert enough to be clever at 7 AM. As a Hufflepuff, I can say we drive like that because we're all perma-stoned. Just last month, I was being driven home from a face painting workshop. The teacher had demonstrated by painting half my face like a cheetah and half like a tiger. Whenever we stopped at red lights I stuck my face out the window and grinned at passers-by. Oh goodness, this reminds me of my theater class. Teacher was instructing on costume makeup and did a gore tutorial on the elderly lady in the class. I was in the parking lot and saw the old lady get into her car in the handicapped space, bloody face and all. The stares she got as she drove off. I've angrily glared at people waiting at red lights while wearing a sheep mask or a giraffe hat, and on rare occasions both. Not me, but as I read Arp's post to my wife, she reminded me that once before I met her she was driving next to a trucker who was trying to get her to hike up her skirt, and instead of obliging him she reached up the skirt, yanked out her tampon, twirled it around on its string, and threw it out her window at his truck. Your wife is my hero. My mom's friend used to have a small paddle with the words STFU and drive across it. Whenever people would start getting into an argument on the road, she would hold it up to the windshield so the people could see it. They would usually laugh it off and drive away. So yes, it was useful. If they didn't listen, then she could get out of the car and spank them with the paddle. Not me, my dad. Once when I was a kid, I was in the car with him as he got into a confrontation with another driver. You've got to understand that my dad is a very conservative Christian who doesn't drink, swear, or get angry very easily. When the man started yelling and flipping us off, my dad rolled down the window and started shaking his open hand at the man, like a high five, but with his palm facing himself. When it was all over, I asked my dad what that weird hand signal was, and he said, "Hey." He throws me one finger. I'll give him all five. I serenade people at stoplights, and occasionally I'll put on a false mustache. Really freaks people out when they see a girl with a full stash singing along to Janis Joplin. I like you. As a girl who enjoys donning fake facial hair on occasion, this image makes me happy to know I'm not alone. Some guy cut me up once, so I continued to drive behind him, flipping him off out my window for about 2 miles in slow traffic. I could see the guy in the car behind me laughing. My friend had a surgeon's mask and red tinted aviator sunglasses in his glove compartment, so one slow night I put them on and stared people down in cars. This one girl got so scared she refused to pull up next to us at lights or pass us. So it consisted of us going like 25 miles per hour in a 55 and she would still refuse to pass us. I'm a little late to the party here, but maybe a few people will see this and enjoy it. This year, I went to Florida with a friend of mine during spring break to catch some baseball spring training games and just hang out. We were too cheap to fly, so we drove all the way from upstate New York to Tampa. On the way, we would try to pass the time by holding our cell phone number up to random cars, that is, attractive girls. This resulted in a lot of great fun, including a 2-hour-long lip-sync competition with a car full of girls in South Carolina, syncing radio stations via text message. But the moment that was by far the funniest, and I guess you could say strangest, was when we were behind this van carrying what appeared to be a girls' college soccer team. The van was adorned with stickers from their college, and the apparel we could see them wearing indicated soccer. So, out of boredom, I Google college women's soccer and pull up the official team website, complete with roster and pictures. After a little browsing, I found the girl who appeared to be the driver, and searched her name on Facebook. I found her profile, and pulled up her profile picture, making it fill the entire screen. I told my friend to pull up alongside the driver, and as he did I pressed my phone against the passenger window while staring absolutely stone-faced at the driver. The moment of realization, screams, and the look on all of their faces when they realized what was happening was one of the funniest moments of my life. TLDR. Smartphones make 22-hour road trips much more interesting. A buddy of mine told me that he and his sister used to fight boredom on the way to the beach by bending straws and sticking one end up a nostril and the other end in their mouth. At traffic signals, they would look at other cars and pretend to suck on the straws. I'm so glad that comment went the direction it did. Most sibling stories don't end well. My friend and I always stare at the car next to us and furiously dance to hardcore rave music. This usually happens really late at night. When I'm a passenger in the car of someone who already thinks I'm weird, I like to scare other drivers by rapidly chomping at the air, baring my teeth at them, and generally acting like a dog, or turning fully around in my seat and making cheesy sex looks at a tailgater like licking my lips excessively or biting my finger. I'm a bearded man, so it is usually not sexy. I like how you mention that it's usually not sexy, but now and again, when the moon is right and the stars are aligned, panties moisten for miles around amid Stairway to Heaven entirely vocalized by a choir of very frisky angels. A trick my uncle showed me is to close one eye while driving on the freeway to make it look like you're sleeping when you pass other cars. Gets a lot of honks and gets people to give you extra space. You can even help this one by tilting your head over to one side to emphasize the sleep. I have a large letter Y I stole from a movie theater marquee years ago. When people cut me off I shake it at them and scream why. If people annoy me on the road, I just start flashing the big lights of my car on and off and imagine I'm shooting them with my laser. I did this when I got cut off. 2 cops' cars were waiting at my house all pee about my road rage that got called in. I used to keep a Ziploc bag filled with $1 McDoubles, extra ketchup, extra mustard. Toss one of those bad boys out the sunroof, right onto a tailgater's windshield. I had the height, velocities, distances, etc. down to an art form. That's awesome, and probably dangerous and illegal. When I read the first few words of thought I thought this was gonna be I masturbate while driving. What weird things do you do whilst behind the wheel? In college, I used to keep a katana in the trunk of my car. Only had to use it once, but was dang happy I had it. I was driving to a roommate's wedding, decked out in bridesmaid's dress, hair and makeup done up. So, I was speeding along at the tramp stamp of dawn along small roads in Missouri, and this car was staying on my butt. Being the paranoid sucker I am, I slowed down so he'd get it over with and pass me, but he didn't. I ended up pulling over at a gas station and sat there for about 5 minutes, then went on out and continued my trip. Turns out he'd pulled over at the far edge of that small town, and as soon as I passed he pulled back out and resumed following me. At this point I was fully freaking out from lack of sleep and, frankly, him being creepy. So, I turned off on some gravel road, thinking I could maybe lose him in my pose car. Totally wrong. BTW. After a few turns and falling further and further behind schedule, I finally pulled over. In quick succession, I popped the trunk, stopped the car, got out, grabbed the sword and unsheathed it on the way to his car, in full wedding attire, mind you. The blue strapless gown was pretty dang sparkly in that early morning light. I was ready to chew him out, but as soon as I started toward him, his car peeled out behind mine and took off down that gravel road like a bat out of heck. When I got to the wedding, I explained why I was late and the bride thought I was utterly full of crap. B. Oddest thing, I obey all traffic laws and treat other drivers with respect, give them plenty of space, and when people cut me off I turn the other cheek. Just kidding, I drive like a freaking maniac. I keep a toy ray gun in my car, very obviously a toy, so when people are nut monkeys on the road I get a very satisfying pew 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 brrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr cyclists. I was once a pizza driver for Papa John's and we used to put garlic sauce in the pizza box. I threw them at a car once while on delivery. The other car threw eggs at me. Food fight. Not me, but Heath Ledger. They filmed part of The Dark Knight near my city. My mom knew a limo driver that transported Heath Ledger, who was still wearing the Joker makeup. Heath liked to roll down his window, stick his head out and Joker laugh at random drivers and pedestrians as the limo drove off. Bear in mind this was before everyone knew what the Joker was going to look like. I'm sure I would have been scared numb. I keep a Guy Fawkes mask in my backseat at all times. I sometimes like to wear it and stare at someone in a long light or traffic during my work commute. Except one day, I saw a person pass me with a Guy Fawkes t-shirt, so I followed him slowly beside him with the mask on, staring at him. Went on for 1/4 of a mile before I sped off. We were driving down the road and we stopped at a red light. The station we listen to down here most of the time switched to hits at break. Oh god, 20 minutes of ads, and so I switched it over until I found a station. I ended up finding one that was playing I Don't Want to Let You Go by Weezer and I left it on as a joke. He starts singing along in the driver's seat and all of a sudden this old man stops on our left side. He must have heard the music because he rolled down his window and turned up his music. It was the same dang song. My friend looks him in the eye and out of nowhere starts mouthing his words to the song. The old man gives him the most serious stare and they pretty much sang a duet in the middle of this red light. Meanwhile, Every other car is wondering what the heck is going on and I'm getting the oddest stare from this guy on my side. They finished a few seconds before the light turned green and I crap you not, there was an applause of car horns after they finished. I have an authentic Mexican wrestling mask that is gold and black in color, which I have deemed the cheesy gordita if you are interested. I frequently take cross-country driving trips for my job in a short amount of time. If you have not done trips that require you to drive 36 hours straight stopping only to pee and fuel, you don't know that you tend to get delirious after 24 hours of no human contact. To cope with my slowly induced mini craze, I would wear the mask to get reactions from people I am passing or that would pass me. It would keep me from weirding out. I passed a car full of, what I assume college students, in eastern Utah made my trip. Their reactions were priceless to me. They stayed next to me and took pictures and made hand gestures that made me laugh till I cried. Those small few moments that make the trip bearable. I used to keep a water bottle full of Dr. Pepper under my seat so I could pull it out and spray pedestrians who acted like dickholes. I lived in a college town where hundreds of college kids would roam the streets at night, generally being hooligans and buttholes, kicking your car as you drove past, jumping on your hood, things of the like. I can't tell you how gratifying it is to hose someone down with soda when they're in their Friday night best after they've kicked your car and yelled obscenities at you for no more reason than being a driver on a road after sundown. On my birthday last year, my two best friends had gotten me a banana suit. For most of the night, we drove around with me in the front seat, suited up in my new outfit with an old set of maracas singing the peanut butter jelly time song. We also tried to throw a douche into the bed of a truck that was driving next to us, missed and hit the side of the truck, and watched as the car behind us ran over the douche. At least his car got cleaned. I thought you were talking about some popped collared frat boy. Not me but coworker. He had a lady mannequin to put in his passenger's seat to get through the carpool lane. He's on a surface road and just finished setting up the missus when another driver started giving him weird looks. He dongs his arm and punches the dummy square in the jaw, completely shocking the other driver. Light changes and he drives on. I used to keep a hand puppet in my car of a really silly looking duck with googly eyes and a purple mohawk. I commuted 62 miles each way to work for years on a windy freeway that could sometimes be rather lonely. I'd leave for work a bit before 5 AM at times, in order to give myself sufficient jiggle shits to not go insane for the part of the drive I was too lazy to locate and plug in my MP3 player. I would have conversations with the puppet. I'd wait until I was passing a car. I'd go 80-85. Did it for years. Knew where the speed traps were. And make the puppet face me with my arm low and somewhat hidden. And yammer on with what I hope was a rhythm and cadence not unlike that of a human telling a very ridiculous story in an animated way. To complete the effect, I would keep my eye on the road ostentatiously and pretend to be very focused yet dreadfully bored. The idea that some middle-aged man in a college short driving a Hyundai Genesis or some kind of fancy book has surely had his eye caught by a duck puppet shouting at a bored, vaguely ethnic looking guy was very entertaining to me. I'd spend a solid 2 minutes laughing out loud, to the point where my eyes would tear up and I'd have to wind the laugh down by saying, "Who are you?" On some days, I'd do this 2 or 3 times. It got me through, man. It got me through. Whenever someone is cranking crappy music, especially some corporate looking white guy bumping ghetto rap, I take it upon myself to roll my windows down and blast some classical music. Not me but what the other driver did to me. This car cut me off a few times, and combined with driving under the speed limit I got pretty annoyed. This was in a residential area. I pull up next to the car to see who this butthole is and possibly give them the finger. I pull up to the light. This extremely attractive Asian girl is driving. She looks me in the eye, gives me the biggest cutest smile ever. Honestly, I was so surprised shocked I started blushing, which only made her smile more. Anger gone. Was happy for the rest of the day. At a stoplight, pull up next to the guy who cut you off earlier. Give full eye contact and lick the window. Freaks them out in a special cousin type of way. I've allowed someone to merge into my lane in front of me, and I didn't curse them to a burning hellhole of pain. Pretty strange, for me. I allow people ahead of me without getting mad if they use their blinker more than a half second before merging. I'm a larger male with a bald head and long goatee. I simply stick my tongue out at them. It's amazing how men lose brief control of their vehicles. When somebody looks at me at a stoplight, I slowly roll in reverse, making them think that they're rolling forward and they have a slight heart attack. Makes my day. My Italian mafioso dad keeps a paintball gun in his front seat and shoots people's cars when they make him mad. He thinks it's hilarious. He also keeps an oversized pocket knife that's the size of his arm. While I was driving down an 8-lane road, 4 per direction, at around 11 PM one evening, my friend was craving a cigarette, having none of his own. He insisted we ask the girl in the lane next to us. She did have cigarettes, but the light turned green, so we had to navigate dangerously close to her car while going 50 miles per hour to do the handoff. After getting his cigarette, I sort of wanted one too, so we pulled a repeat performance after the next red light. I'm sure people thought it was the most insane of drug deals, but it was a truly great way to end a night. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.